Okay, it's already 6:01, so we're going to get started. I don't know if George or anyone else will make it this evening, but we'll record a class and respond to any questions via text, email, or phone call at a later time. Let's go to our Father in prayer briefly. Father in heaven, we thank you for this opportunity to study your word. We thank you for your continued love for us and your son who died, that we might have a right relationship with you. We thank you for those who are endeavoring to draw closer to you through the deeper study of your word. Pray that you provide us the wisdom to understand and the strength to live your word on a daily basis. We pray for those that are ill and that are struggling in this life. Be your will, Father, that they can recover, and all glory to go to you. Pray in Jesus' name, amen. All right, so we're doing a quick review of chapter 14 on pronouns. Oh, yeah, it's recording good. On relative pronouns. And let me go and share screen. Well, actually, we'll go through, I think, a quick all the pronouns very briefly. And there we go. I think that I have a shared screen. So we'll go through all the pronouns very briefly, just as a quick overview, and we'll go into chapter 14, homework, not all of it, but some of it, and then do the review number 3, which goes over all the pronouns and a few other things. So start with chapter 11 from first and second personal pronouns. There, of course, is what we're, well, let's see. There we go. In English, we are comfortable with personal pronouns, first and second especially. It is a pronoun that replaces the noun. The example here, give it to me. It is replacing whatever it. Well, I guess George made it in. Hey, George, I'm just getting started.
Okay.
We're just going to be reviewing pronouns. So I'm going back through chapter 11, a quick review of first, second personal pronouns, and then we'll review all the way through third person personal pronouns, demonstrative pronouns, and relative pronouns, and then we'll look at review number 3. So if you remember, of course, in English, a personal pronoun replaces the noun. The example, give it to me. It and me are both personal pronouns. They are referring back to something of which it is, well, replacing it as simple as possible. The personal pronoun, I wish I had learned Hebrew instead of Greek. I, of course, is a first person singular personal pronoun. And it points back to what's referred to as the antecedent. The antecedent is if Dave learned Greek, and I wish I had learned, or well, actually probably he wished he had learned Hebrew instead of Greek. Well, he would be third person, pointing back to Dave. So this first part looks at the first, second personal pronouns, but there's also third. And in Greek is very much similar. First and second, we understand as it functions as subjective. First person would be I, second would be you. Possessive would be my versus your. Objective would be me versus you. And the plural would be subjective is we versus you for second person. Plural possessive, our or yours in the second person. First person objective, plural us versus second person you. So English doesn't differentiate, especially second person personal pronouns at all. You just have to know from the context, and even then sometimes you really can't tell. Greek, of course, does differentiate quite simply. The personal pronouns, the case, whether it's functioning as a nominative, genitive, dative, or accusative, is determined by how it's functioning in the sentence. You don't say me will eat now, you say I will eat now. It's antecedent. My name is Dave. I like to teach. So I like to teach is functioning as the subject, although Dave is actually, its antecedent is really in the accusative predicate position. And so it functions as a subject I like, but its person and number are the same as antecedent. That is, its person is first person, and its number is singular. There is no gender in first or second. There is in third. So in the Greek, as a reminder, ego is our nominative, meaning I, and then our second person is su, meaning you. Again, there's no gender for first or second person, but there's an easier pattern to see when you deal with the genitive, dative, and accusative for first and second. The mu, su, moi, soy, me, or se. Mu is a genitive. Su is a second person genitive. Moi, dative, first person dative, second person soy, and so forth. The emphatic position for the first person under mu, moi, or me adds an epsilon with a smooth breathing and an accent mark. So emu is just an emphasis on my, referring to my versus someone else in contrast. Su has no accent mark on the second person, but when it's emphatic, it will add the accent mark. Same with soy and se. Also, the pattern on the plural side, hemes for we, humes for you. Both rough breathing. One pattern begins with the eta rough breathing mace, and the second person, the upsilon rough breathing mace. And so that same sort of pattern follows hemon, humon, hemin, humin, hemos, humos. So hopefully, George, you're feeling somewhat, recognizing some of that and feeling okay with that.
So it's coming.
Well, we just keep going back through it, and that's really how you get it. You know, language, unless you're a genius, and I'm not, it's repetition.
Yeah.
In chapter 12, we just finished personal pronouns by adding the third person, right? First is me or I, second is you, and third is going to be he, she, or it. And just like in the first and second, in English, it can function as a subjective, meaning typically the subject, or possessive, giving possession, or objective, meaning the direct object, in singular or plural. And so in the singular, it's he, she, or it. So he is a masculine, of course, not that it's referring to specifically a male, but masculine in its grammatical category. She, feminine, and it and neuter. Possessive would be his, her, or its, in masculine, feminine, or neuter. Objective being the direct object, him, her, or it. You know, we don't say him hit the ball, we say he hit the ball. So, because he functions as a subject. He hit him would be, him is a direct object. And so he would function as a subject, him would hit the direct object. Now in the plural, it's very much like in the second person for personal pronoun you. There's not a lot of differentiation. Subjective is going to be the plural for they. Possessive in the plural for their, being possession, and objective, direct object, is them. In the Greek, we've already done the first and second, and we have our third person. The difference is we have now gender. We have masculine, feminine, and neuter. And so we follow this pattern, declension pattern. Declension is nothing more a pattern. This is called a 2-1-2 pattern because it's a second declension masculine, first declension feminine, second declension neuter, and it's a pattern. And it follows the same pattern we've seen so far, with the sigma ending for the nominative, first nominative singular masculine, for the nominative feminine, singular feminine is the eta or alpha, in this case the eta. And in the Omicron ending, the new is not included, just like it isn't on the article. So it's very much the same pattern we've seen: autos, aute, auta, autu, autes, autu, as he, she, it for the nominative, autu, autes, autu, his, her, its for the genitive. Auto, and see we have the omega iota subscript, eta iota subscript, omega iota subscript. Auto, aute, auto, to him, with him, her, it. And then the accusative and the singular, auton, autain, auta, him, her, it. So it's the same pattern that we've seen thus far. Same in the plural. We have the oi, I, and ending. So we got autoi, autai, auta for they. And then the omega nu ending across the board, auton, for their. And then the iota sigma ending for the dative plural, tois, autois, autais, autois, to them. And then in the accusative plural, the same endings we've had before, the us, the os, and the ta, autus, autas, auta, and them. So this is nothing new, and hopefully you're seeing the same pattern. It's becoming somewhat familiar. It follows the same pattern as the article. It follows the same pattern as the nouns and the adjectives. So pretty much the same. The difference is in third person pronoun, personal pronoun, which is the autos, aute, auta. It can have three different ways in a sentence. That's really the difference. It looks similar in what we've seen in the past. And it has the same case endings for nouns and adjectives. It follows the same kind of pattern for articles. But its function is different. It's a third person, can function like a third person pronoun. He, she, or it will see God. They will see God. So just like you would expect, it replaces a noun and functions and stands in place of a noun. It can also function as adjectival intensive. Basically, it's just intensifying the adjective it's modifying. So it modifies another word, and usually it's a subject. And so the word it's modifying, it's just going to make it intensify. God himself, the apostle himself, the church herself, these kind of things. And so it becomes reasonably noticeable when it's we'll show you in the predicate position momentarily. Basically, the noun that it's modifying will have an article, but the third person personal pronoun will not have an article with it. That's called a predicate position. And normally, if it's an adjective, it'd be, something is something. But because it's not an adjective, it's a personal pronoun. It's not is, it's intensifying. It's God himself. So that would be theos. Himself would be, would have to be masculine. It'd have to be singular. And so it'd be autos. Ha theos autos would probably how it'd be written. So the article ha, God, theos, and then you'd have the corresponding third person personal pronoun autos, masculine, nominative, singular. And so that would just intensify that. It can also function, it's called an identical adjective. There's not a whole lot of them, but there are some, in the same hour. And so there we see the example, you have en aute te hora. Well, te hora is the hour, en is in, and aute is, well, if you say in he, or that would be aute feminine, so in she, the hour, makes no sense. You try to make it in the hour itself, it's not quite, it doesn't really work well. And so it becomes somewhat obvious that it's really what's called an identical adjective, so in the same hour. Normally context helps you find that pretty easily. Chapter 13, we'll look at demonstrative pronouns. Pretty simple. We're only dealing with this, these, that, and those in our translations. So you have this and these, which are called the near, because this is near me, these are near me, singular and plural. That, singular, is further away, so in relatively speaking, in reference. And those in plural, so they're the far demonstratives. They're not inflected for case or gender. So they function as a pronoun, like that is mine. So that, it could stand in place as a pronoun would. And it can also function as an adjective, like that car is mine. So it's referring and qualifying which car, type of thing. Very similar in the same pattern we've seen so far. You have the second declension masculine pattern, the first declension feminine pattern, and second declension neuter pattern. Again, it's called a 2-1-2 pattern. And the pattern would be with the sigma ending, the eta or alpha ending, and the Omicron ending here. So hutos, and the difference is that it's going to be the rough breathing, or it's going to have a tau.
Right.
Okay, so hutos, haute, tuto, and so we don't have the rough breathing, but we have the tau preceding it. And that would be in the nominative singular, meaning this. Tutu, tautes, tautu is of this, showing possession, with our dative subscript, omega subscript iota, eta subscript iota, and omega subscript iota is tuto, taute, tuto, to, with, or in this. Accusative, our typical new ending all the way across the board. New is missing, and here. And so you have tuton, tautain, and tutal, meaning direct object, this. Plural, again, the rough breathing. So the tau is omitted, and so it's hoitoi, hautai, and then tauta. And omega nu, all the way across the board. For tutone, of these, tutois, tautais, tutois, to these. In the direct object for the accusative plural, upsilon sigma ending, the alpha sigma and the alpha, tutus, tautus, tutus, tautas, tauta, these. And in the far, there's less variation. They're all begin with a knos or a k. And so we have the same pattern with the sigma ending, the eta, the Omicron. So knos, a kna, a kna for that. That is the far. It's that I'm referring to. And the genitive showing possession, a knu, a knas, a knu, of that. And then in the dative singular with the omega iota subscript, eta subscript, and eta iota subscript, omega iota subscript. A kno, a kna, a kno, to, with, or in that. And a knon, a knane, a kna, like that. So same pattern over and over. We just sort of have a different stem word that refers to that or those. In plural has the oi, the I, the ah ending, the omega nu ending, the ois, the ice, and the ois ending, us, os, and the ah ending. So it's plural, but it has the same knu, knus, or kna stem. And in translation, basically, they're pretty straightforward. Hutos means this. Now, a lot of times, we have to add something for, yes, this points back to the antecedent, but in context, when you're reading this, it may make it simpler and easier to read, say this man or this one, depending upon what, in this case, hutos is a masculine singular, so this man or one would be appropriate. A kanai, if we go back to our, here's a kanai, nominative plural, those, and so a kanai would be, it shouldn't be that, it should be those, right? Now let's see.
No, K9.
Kanai is those, right? Plural. And so that shouldn't say that, it should say those.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, those.
Those, not woman singular, but women plural. So that's an error here. That's actually Bill Mounce's chart. I used it. So make sure I'm not missing something. Anai is a plural ending. Kanoi, kanai, kana. Yeah, that's the plural. No question about that. And That versus those, far, that is singular, those is plural. No question. So that should be those women, plural. So that's not right. But anyway, you see what it's trying to say. Sometimes you have to add a qualifier or an explanation to help define when you read it what that or those are. Personal can also function as a personal pronoun, like a he, she, or it. Okay, it's called a weak demonstrative when it's doing that. In other words, it's still a demonstrative pronoun. Like this is still demonstrative pronouns, hutos, thuta, akenoi, akenos, but it's weak because it's not doing this or that or those or these. Instead, it's going to function as he, she, or it. Seems somewhat redundant when you already have the third person personal pronoun, autos, aute, auta, that can do that, but sometimes that's what the speaker chose to use. And so it can function in that same, as a personal pronoun. In those cases, it's still demonstrative, but it's called a weak demonstrative pronoun, but it's functioning as a personal pronoun. So it can function as a pronoun, pretty straightforward. It can also function as an adjective, and it's normally in the predicate position when it's doing that. Well, the predicate position will mean that you'll have the demonstrative pronoun modifying a noun with an article. No article on the demonstrative. So hutos, ha, anthropos. Okay, so hutos is nominative, it's masculine, it's singular. Ha, the article, is nominative, masculine, singular. Anthropos or anthropos, however you want to pronounce it, is nominative, the Omicron sigma ending, masculine, and singular. So, and so the translation would be this man. Now, it says not this is man because if this were an adjective, if hutos was functioning as an adjective, that would be whatever, let's say tall, then tall is, don't do that, tall is man. You would be making predicate. But it's not an adjective, it's functioning as an adjective, and it's a demonstrative pronoun, hutos, this man. It's a pattern you want to find and see, and when you recognize one is a demonstrative pronoun, you recognize that it's without the article, but yet the noun it's modifying has the article, then it's just describing the man. Hoi anthropos. That's not right either. Hoi anthropos. That's masculine singular. It's plural masculine. Stop that. Kenoi. So this is the plural masculine. This is the plural masculine. That should be the plural masculine as well. I don't know if that's not my typo. That's just the way I pulled it in. But this would be hoi anthropoi ekenoi, those men. Just like that should be those women. This should be those men. It's called a predicate, and the reason we say not those are men is because it's in a predicate position. Predicate normally means you got a noun in the state of verb like is or was, and then another noun. That's predicate position. So it's in that kind of position, but it's a demonstrative pronoun, so it's just going to be those men. Hopefully, I didn't really confuse that too much. Relative pronouns. This is what we did last week, so we'll go through that, and then we'll go through our homework and answer any questions you might have. I didn't confuse you too much. The good thing about relative pronouns is they're, it's called relative because it's, it's like who, which, or that. It's relating back to, who, that, or which. Who can also be whom or whose. Who refers to people. Whose is typically personal. I stole the car. Whose color made me ill. So it's associated with personal feelings or whatever the case may be. Which tends to be neuter, and that is typically used with any gender. The key thing is I'm not so much worried about that. That's more of an English translation thing. But the key thing is that who or which or that, these are not interrogatives. They're not questions. It's not who are my students or which students are you, or these aren't interrogatives. They're not questions. They're separate words. The tis without the accent mark is the interrogative. That would be who, what, or which. Here, these are relative pronouns, who, whose, which, or that. And they're not functioning as questions. So that's just in your English, you just want to make sure you recognize that. And they look very much like the articles without the tau, but we have, and the case endings, either way you want to look at it. Except there's a rough breathing with the accent. They all have a rough breathing with the accent. Rough breathing accent, all the way down the line, rough breathing accent. So that's really the key to recognizing it. Hos, he, ha, nominative singular, who, which, or that. And the genitive, showing possession, who, heis, who, of which, or of whom, which, or whose. And the dative, ho, he, ho, to, within, whom, or which. Han, hain, ha. Hoi in the plural, hi in the feminine plural, neuter plural, ha. And then our wonderful omega nu all the way across the board for genitive plural, hon, hon, hon. Our dative plural with the iota sigma. That iota is key to recognizing the dative, whether you're talking about singular in the subscript or in the plural. Typically the plural has the sigma following it. Hois, heis, hois, hus, has, ha for the direct object in the accusative plural. The key to recognizing when you're translating with the relative pronoun is that the relative pronoun begins what's called the relative clause. You want to sort of segment that off, because never in the relative clause is the main verb or the main subject. But it gives you information relating to either the verb or the subject. The very first word is the beginning and has the relative clause, a relative pronoun in it. Come to me, whoever is thirsty, and I will give you drink. Well, whoever is thirsty is referring to actually an implied subject. You come to me, whoever is thirsty. So whoever, I'll use my arrow, whoever actually points back to the implied you that's not here. You come to me, whoever is thirsty. But whoever is not the subject is not the main verb, and thirsty is not the main direct object. This is a relative clause that gives us information about you, but not is dependent upon the rest of the sentence to make sense. You couldn't just have whoever is thirsty. Come to me, whoever is thirsty, and I will give you drink. There we have the main verb, I or will give. Well, come to is the, you come to me is the verb, is the main verb, and you, the subject, come is the verb, and to me is the indirect object. And whoever is thirsty is referring to the subject. And you have another subject verb part of that, I will give drink. Typically we use commas to differentiate or to segment it off at the beginning, at the end of that. It usually modifies the noun. In this case, it's the implied noun you, which is the subject. It can function as what's called a substantive, which is the noun, basically. It can take the role of the noun. My dog eats what is given to him. What is given to him functions as the substantive, the noun. Its number and gender, in other words, singular, plural, masculine, feminine, or neuter, is determined by its antecedent, whatever it's pointing back to. But its case is determined by the function inside the relative clause. The woman whom we saw was walking to the subway. Well, whom is actually in the accusative case, the direct object. But it is singular and it is feminine. at least in Greek, you'll see that, because it's singular and feminine because it's talking about the woman who's singular and feminine. But it's not, the woman is the nominative case, but this won't be the nominative case because in the relative clause, the nominative is we, saw is the verb, and we saw a woman, or we saw whom. So whom functions and stands in place, in this case, of the woman, but in this case, the woman is functioning in the relative clause as the direct object. We saw the woman. So whom we saw was walking to the subway. The star that they had seen in the east. That they had seen is the relative clause. The star is neuter. It's singular. In this case, it's the nominative. That is going to be neuter, and it's singular, but it's not nominative. It's probably, in this case, I believe, I know it when we see it in the Greek, is going to be in the direct object in the accusative case. Because in the clause, the subject is they, had seen is the verb, they had seen that. Well, what is that? They had seen the star. So within the clause, that is functioning as the direct object. The main subject is the star in the east. And this says, if difficult, replace it with the antecedent. That's what I was doing. They had seen the star in the east. So we know that that is functioning as a direct object. Let's see. Sometimes you have to add some words to help it make sense in English. He who takes up his cross. I forget what we're, basically he who takes up, possibly add words of use substantively. Well, he would be the substantival in giving a description who takes up his cross with regard to who he is. So if you have any questions on what we've gone over thus far, we can go over that, but I thought through the homework we might come across some of that.
Yeah, I think we do.
Is that okay? You want to go through the homework?
Yeah.
Okay, you ready? Did you get a chance to do any of these? Do you feel reasonably comfortable with some of this, or you wanted me to walk through it, or what?
Yeah, let's go. Okay, first one.
What case would that hey be?
Either neuter or accusative.
Okay, the gender is neuter. What case? No, accusative is correct. I think you meant to say nominative or accusative.
Oh, yeah, nominative.
Yeah. So the case
I just put the
end there. Yeah, I do the same thing. Yeah. So a nominative or accusative, and what a number?
Plural.
And gender neuter, we already said. And its lexical form goes back to Haas.
Us.
Right. And its inflected meaning would be?
Who, which, whom, that.
Yeah, probably that, simply because it's in the neuter. Now, it could be which, but probably not who. That would probably either going to be feminine or masculine, but this is in the neuter, so more than likely just going to be that. Okay, ho in the dative form. Well, I already said the case, didn't I? I didn't mean to do that. Dative, well, that was easy. And its number.
Singular.
Yes, sir.
And neuter. Neuter.
Okay, it could be masculine or neuter, right?
To whom? Yeah.
Yeah, it could
I guess.
be. Yeah, let's go back here so we can see it. If I can find it. Okay. Yeah, remember in one of our noun rules is, and I forget which noun rule it is, the masculine for genitive and dative is going to be same in the neuter for genitive and dative. So ho and ho are exactly the same.
Yeah.
For the masculine dative, and same with who and who, the same for the masculine and neuter for the genitive. So it could be either one, dative, masculine or neuter. Masculine or neuter. And lexical form is back to Haas again, and it would be inflected meaning.
To whom?
Yes, sir. To whom or to which. If it's to whom, it's probably a masculine function. If it's to which, it's probably neuter function. Gender, I mean. And what about hey?
Hey, nominative,
Okay.
singular,
Yes, sir.
feminine,
Yes, sir. And let's go
boy.
for boy. Yeah, it goes back to the article, right?
Yeah,
The difference, of course, there's no accent mark here, so it's not a relative pronoun. It's the article.
right.
Right. Feminine, it goes back to hoy, and its inflected meaning.
The,
Very good. What about a canus?
and canoes, accusative,
Accusative, yes, sir.
plural,
Laura, yes, sir.
masculine,
Yes, sir.
ikanos,
Yes, sir. And inflected meaning?
those men,
Okay, that would be very good. Those is sufficient, but sometimes you would add a helping word to make it clear who that antecedent is, those men, and it's that way because it's masculine. What about Haas?
accusative, plural, feminine, goes back to hoist,
Yes, sir.
and I think I got this wrong.
Would be whom, which, or that, right?
Yeah.
Because we're dealing with really the direct object. So it'd be.
Oh no, I didn't get it wrong. Yeah. Well, wait a minute. Voice. Yeah, I think I did get it wrong. Wouldn't that be masculine instead of? Oh no. Are we saying hoist or haste?
Haste. Haste is feminine, right?
Right.
Okay. So it's going to function in the accusative position, so it's going to function as a direct object. It's going to be plural, not singular. So it's going to be feminine, and its lexical form is hoist.
Yeah, hoist.
Okay, but its inflected meaning, inflected being back to has, is going to be whom, which, or that, depending upon context.
So it'd be which women?
Yeah, it could be. I hate to say women per se.
Well, if it's feminine, it's.
Yeah. Well, the only thing about feminine is that just like with masculine, it's not always man. It could be pointing back to something that's feminine, but that's not a woman. It's a
Like sin.
The gender of class. Yes, like sin. Exactly right. Harmatia. So it can, which is feminine. So that's correct. It could point back to a feminine, which is a grammatical category. It's not necessarily, and most often it is not even, male or feminine, in a masculine sense or feminine sense, in a natural sense, let's say. But that's correct. Hutoi?
Hutoi.
Base?
Nominative,
and
masculine.
Yep.
Autos.
Hutos. Yep. Hutos.
Hutos.
And its meaning.
This man.
Well, it wouldn't be this if it's plural, would it?
Or these men. Yeah.
These men, right?
These men.
Yeah, I do the same thing all the time. You just got to kind of reflect and think about it's plural, and you have to force yourself to think about, well, I need to make my English plural. What about haste?
Haste, genitive.
Yes, sir.
Singular, feminine.
Right.
Back to hoist.
Right.
And about which or that.
Yeah, whom or which, but normally we'd have the helping word of to show possession. Although when you get further into this, genitive is not always about possession, but that's sort of our go-to. But they're generally be like of whom or of which. Probably not of that. Of that would be neuter. but of which or of whom would be feminine, or either one of those can normally be feminine. That's an English translation thing. That's not a Greek thing. Hone.
Hone, genitive,
Right.
plural.
Plural, yep.
Can be either masculine, feminine, or neuter.
There you go. And
Voice.
And its inflected meaning would also be of whom or of which. I suppose of that, because it could be neuter too. So, what about foti? They try to mix it up here, trick you out.
Dative.
Yes.
Singular.
Right.
Nominative.
Gender would be neuter.
Or neuter.
Yeah. Right. I knew what you meant. We're just making sure we're on the same page. Lexical form would be?
Fos.
Yes, sir. And it's inflected meaning in the dative, singular position. Fos means light, so its inflected meaning would be?
Of the light.
Not of would be genitive, right? This is dative. So what dative helping words do we typically use? There's 3 of them we throw out there.
Whose light?
To, with, or in. So to a light, with a light, in a light, because it's in the dative. And this is the key. When the genitive is pretty simple, we'll normally add the helping word of. In the dative, when I see that iota ending, my helping words are going to often be to, in, or with. And so once I translate the word light, then I'm going to say it's to the light or a light. In this case, there's no article, so to a light, with a light, or in a light, something like that. So you need the helping word to differentiate how it's functioning in the sentence. It's functioning as an indirect object. So it's never the object, it's the indirect object. That help? Or just more confusion on it? Hain?
Hain, accusative.
Right.
Singular.
Right.
Feminine.
Yes, sir.
Voice.
Hos, right?
Hos.
Or hos, yeah, either way. And so no helping words because it's in the accusative. So its inflected meaning would be?
That.
Whom or which, right? Okay, so let's get, this is in my way. I can't, you probably can't see this, but I can, it's in my way, so there we go. Okay, do you want to try reading some of the shorter sentences and then translate this one, and maybe we can work on it together?
Okay, where are we? We're in Mormon. Te, Samaya,
Samaya's right.
Samaya, K.
Well, you got the rough breathing. Well, you said hey, so I'm going to go ta, Samaya, ha,
Epi,
epoi, a.
Boy, A.
Right? The oi and the a is a diphthong, and that's a diphthong. Epoye. So how would you translate ta, semea, ha, epoye? You already know what epoye is. He, she, or it was doing.
Well, it's the sign or miracle.
Okay. The signs and how or miracle, right? Now, is it singular or plural? Ta, semea.
It has to be singular.
You have 50-50 chance. You want to try it again? It's plural. If it was singular, it'd be ta with the Omicron. But plural is going to have the alpha ending. So it's ta. Ta semea.
That he was doing.
Okay, the signs, okay, that he was doing or which he was doing either one would probably be
Yeah.
appropriate.
See, what I usually do is I write them out.
Yeah.
And then, like the word which or that, I put both words down, and then I go back, and I haven't had a chance to put them on paper.
That's exactly how I do it. Basically, I try to basically translate each word, and then I'll try to put it in the right order and try to put it in the right context when I rewrite it. And like you, I don't often get a chance to rewrite it, and I end up trying to read my rough notes, which doesn't always read as well.
Well, I usually do have time to do it, but I didn't.
That's all right. Okay, so tasamea ha epoi, the signs, plural, which he was doing. It's nice that in one Greek word, he was doing is 3 English words. And that's normal. Okay, so you want me to try this one, or you want to do this one?
I got the promise that he promised us.
Okay. So you have the promise here is the he epangelea. So there's the singular promise in the feminine. That you're just going from here, from hein. That in the accusative accusative feminine, and which autos is he, and then here promised. So this is he promised, and who mean would be to us, or we could say to us. So the promise that or which he promised to us, or promised us. You can cut the to out and make it even smoother. That's very good. That's it. What about has katasku ase pain hadan su? You got this long verb. You've already been told what it is. He, she, it will prepare. So you got has, tain, hadan, su.
Who he will prepare the way. I can't read my writing. What I have down here. Something you.
Well, you is Sue. You're right, but it's not. What this Sue? How's that functioning in the nominative, genitive, dative, or accusative? Look at the Omicron upsilon ending. Is that going to be genitive, dative, accusative, or nominative? Oh,
Plural you.
Well, not plural. It's still singular. We're going to go in the nominative form would be
It would be Sue.
yeah, with the
this would be genitive.
very good. It's a genitive, so it's your. So it's your way or road or path, right? Who will prepare your way? So has is the relative pronoun functioning as a personal pronoun. No, it's not. I'm sorry. Who? I'm sorry. Who will prepare your way or road or path? Is that what you got?
Yeah. Who will prepare your way?
Yeah.
I don't know what I had up there. Maybe that's word path.
All right. Let's try this. We have this prepositional phrase, not a prepositional phrase. Excuse me. Hen with the rough breathing, not smooth. Hen, tone, ploion, ha, hain, simonos. So hen, tone, Pleon would be what?
In the ship.
Okay, not in. This is where I'm emphasizing the rough breathing. It looks like the in prepositional phrase, but that would have a smooth breathing. Hen with the rough breathing is not in, it's one. It's the number one. And it wouldn't be the ship, it would be, this is tone, pleon, ship, but it's singular or plural. Omega nu, omega nu. Omega nu be singular or plural?
It's, yeah,
Which one?
singular.
Oh, no.
Said I keep.
Here you go. That's okay. Genitive plural. Omega nu, omega nu, omega nu. Always that plural. That's okay. The more you see it, the more you get comfortable with it. It's that omega nu is that plural in the genitive form. Genitive case, I mean.
But that word is not ship.
Well, it's ship, yeah, but I'm just saying it's not ship. Ship is singular, right? So it'd be plural.
Be ships.
Okay, or boats. Probably more likely boats. They wouldn't be. This is referring to Simon Peter's boats, or not one of his boats, or one of his boats. And he probably didn't have a ship. He probably had a boat. So one, and it's genitive, one of the boats. And then you got this ha, hain, Simonos.
Which was Simon's, or
which was Simon's, correct. Yeah, so one of the boats, which was Simon's. So, that the hen is the number one, not the preposition with the smooth breathing in. Tone is tone, pleon is ship, but more likely a boat, considering who we're talking about. And it's in the genitive plural, so it's one of the boats, plural, which was hain. That's the past tense of ami, which was Simonos, Simon's. Oh, yeah. And then we got Hosgar, Uk Estin, Koth Hamon, Uper Hamon Estin. So let's start with the first part of this. A little bit long. You have Hosgar, Uk Estin, Koth Hamon. So you got a, oh, don't do that. I keep clicking on my thing. Hamon is, of course, a first-person personal pronoun in the genitive form right here. Koth has been ellipsed because it's following a, that's normally kata, and it's following or preceding a word that begins with a vowel. Estin is our verb. Gar is our post-positive. It means for. So my translation is going to be in the beginning. For. Has is my my personal relative pronoun, and not. So you want to try walking through the first part? How do you translate this?
For is according to us, for that which.
Okay, let's start with let's make it easy to start with this kathemon. The us is correct. When kata is governing the genitive, it normally means against. So this would be against us. And we'll go back to this post-positive, we can get it out of our way, cross it out, say for. And you're right, you said which, but this is probably speaking about people. So it wouldn't be which, it'd be who. For who is not against us. And that would be the first part of this. Probably before who, and more likely whoever, who is not against us, comma, who per hemon estin. so whoever's not against us is
for us,
right? So you have hemon twice. Once against us, another for us. The same verb esten is. So it's for who is not against us is for us. And that's how you got to walk through it. That make any sense? Are you okay?
Yep.
All right. Hapaton, hepta, rough breathing, hepta, pneumaton, ha, enopion, or enopion, either way, to throw nu, autu. Hapaton, hepta, pneumaton, ha, enopion, to throw nu, autu. My prepositional phrase, preposition here, so it's going to look like it's going to cover at least through here. So I've got this hapaton, hepta, pneumaton is my prepositional phrase. Let's just do that one piece. Remember what hapa means?
Away?
Or from, or out from. So away's close, but it's really referring to from. Typically out from. It's coming out from. Or away from is probably a good way. So I think it's away from. So from or away from, tone, heptad, pneumaton. Remember pneumatos? What is pneumatos?
A spirit.
Yes, sir. And so we have the genitive plural case here, right?
Right, 7 spirits.
Okay, hepta is 7. All right, so translate just this first phrase, hapaton, hepta, pneumaton.
Away from the 7 spirits.
Very good. All right, and then the second half of this is ha enopion to thranu autu. And so we have our relative pronoun, ha. Enopion is a preposition. So the rest of this is part of a prepositional phrase, enopion to anthropu autu. You remember what enopion is?
Which?
Well, yes, sir. Which is ha here.
Which that or whom?
Right.
Before the throne?
Before his throne, right? Autu. So that's the genitive here. So autu is talking about the throne, so it's describing ownership of the throne. It's his throne. So away from the 7 spirits, which we will probably insert a verb because English requires you to put some verb in here, which are before his throne. So literally it's from the 7 spirits which before his throne, but we would insert a verb, which are before his throne, something of that nature. That make sense?
Got it.
Good. So a couple more, then we're going to move to the review. I want to make sure we have time for that. Hatheos tes reines has estai methumon. Hatheos, there's my subject. I've got the ha for the nominative article. Theos, agreeing with it, is the nominative masculine singular. God or the God. Tes reines. You remember what reines means?
I translate it as peace.
Yes, sir.
The God of
the God what?
The God of peace.
Okay, why of peace?
Well, it wasn't sounding right. The peace.
You're correct. Doesn't sound right. But grammatically, just looking at it, why would it be of peace? Tes reines, that eta sigma is in the genitive form. And so we're going to say the God of peace. because it's in the genitive. So I just want to sort of reiterate that fact. So yes, you did the correct translation, but want to make sure we sort of understand why we're coming up with that translation. So the God of peace, hos estai meth humon. Meth is from meta, the tau alpha dropped ellipsion, because it's preceding humon, another vowel. So how would you translate hos estai meth humon?
That is with or together, behind or after you.
Okay, the with is correct. What's this here? Humon? Oh yeah, you was right. You had it correct. I'm sorry. I'm thinking something else. With you. And so what about the hos? Which, I think you said that. I may miss it. Which will be with you. So the God of peace, but would it be which? We wouldn't say which in English, though.
Whom is.
Okay, who.
Or that.
Well, not that, because who's it talking about? The God of peace. Who's this pointing back to? This is pointing back to God.
God.
The God of peace. So it would be who, the God of peace, who will be, estai is a future passive verb, will be with you. So, any questions?
Will be with you.
That makes sense? You okay?
Yeah.
Okay. You want to read this, and then we'll translate. It's a little much, but I think you could do it.
Number 2.
Yeah, this would be second one in the translations. Yes. Read it in Greek first, and then walk through the translation.
Epistusan.
Epistusan. That's good. Epistusan. They believed.
Te.
Yes, sir.
Graphone.
What?
Graphe.
Graphe, yes, sir. Te graphe.
Going back to my English. Graphe.
I got it.
And
Kai.
Kai to.
Lago, yes.
Lago. I have a hard time denunciating when it's the Omicron versus an Omega.
Yeah, I understand that. Well, depending upon your perspective, some teach that the Omicron is translated or pronounced the same as the Omega with a long O, lago, or logo. I was taught as a short O for the Omicron, a long O, lago. But I think the true correct way is probably logo, both long. However, that's why I go back and forth. To me, it sounds better. And most people are taught short Omicron, long Omega. Most people are taught that. But I do believe first century, they probably did not make that differentiation. It was probably both. Because when you look at some of the manuscripts where the scribes were read the text and they wrote based on what they heard, they often confused these two because they probably sounded very much alike. So they probably sounded like a logo, and it would make it real easy to confuse, versus logo would be not as easy. So more than likely, that's the logo is correct, but it doesn't really matter. To, lago, or logo. How would you say here?
On.
Right.
I pen.
A pen.
A pen. Oh,
Right.
I a sus.
Okay.
Jesus.
A sus.
E H.
Jesus. Some people make a J sound here, Jesus, but Jesus I think is probably correct. So let's walk through translation. You already got they believed. So what is it they believed?
They believe the writings.
Oh, no, that's incorrect now. What they believe. It's not the writings. Singular or plural?
Oh, the writing.
The writing, yes. They believe the writing, and
I had writing.
that's fine.
And the word.
The word, that's exactly correct. And then we have han, a pon, a pen, ha, Jesus.
Of Jesus.
Well, let's do with the han. What would the han be?
On who or which, I
Very good.
guess.
Probably which. And the a pen is a verb, which we've had before. That's why they didn't give us the English translation, meaning he said or spoke, which Jesus said or spoke. Right. So. Okay, shorter one, and then we'll move to the review. Kariti de, my mouse is not moving. Kariti de theu emi ha emi. So kariti is de is the post positive, so but or and. Kariti is in the dative. I see the iota ending here. Theu, genitive. Emi, ha, emi. I am. I am. So that's I am. That's I am.
That I am. I am that I am.
All right. So yeah, you got that naturally because we know our Bible. But the ha is, of course, that relative pronoun.
Right.
So I am that I am. And so what is this here?
And God.
Okay. And well, this is God in the genitive, and this is kariti. So karitis mean grace. It's either in grace. Normally, we say dative. We often say add their helping words if necessary, to, with, or in. But there's another helping word that's more appropriate here. We wouldn't say to or and to the grace. This is genitive of God. It would be by the grace. So, and by the grace of God, I am that I am. I am which I am that I am. So kariti would be by the grace of God, I am that I am. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Good. All right, I'm going to skip these and move to the review in chapter review number 3. Did you get a chance to look at any of that? Or if not, that's fine. We just want to walk through some of this.
In the workbook?
Yeah, review chapter, review number 3, which is, I think, covers chapters 10 through 14. If you go to the workbook, I don't remember what page number that is. I want to pull out the
53.
Is it 53? Okay. If you haven't done it, let's walk through and we could kind of walk through it together. I won't do them all because I want to save some for you to physically do because that's how we learn. But we'll walk through some of them. Okay, so it starts with explain how the stem was modified in the following inflected forms. So they're giving us the inflected forms, and they want us to explain how it's modified. In other words, what's its if we go back to its original, we'll find that its stem has been changed. And so we need to talk about how that changed and why it changed and what it changed from. Do you understand what it's asking?
Wants us to show the stem.
Well, you got to start with the stem.
Stem.
Okay. So sarx, if you learned your vocabulary,
Flesh.
right? But sarx in the lexical form would be sarx, and its genitive would be what? Remember? Sarkos with a kappa. And what that helps me to know is that its original stem is with not with the C, but with the kappa. And the kappa, when you added the sigma to it, changed. That really goes back to our square stops. I don't know why we didn't do the square stops first. Let's see if I could type on here. I don't know if I could type or not.
Sarx.
No, I think I'll have to get out of the... Okay, let's see if I can type. Let's see if I can type. Oh, make it big enough so you can see. Put it in Greek. Okay. So our word is sarx, but its original, it helps when I put it in. Come on. All right, so that's its stem, sark. And so they're asking the question is when you add an S, when you add a sigma to it, which is, if you look at your third declension nominative singular feminine case ending, it has a sigma, masculine and feminine. And so when you add that sigma to it, that kappa functions as a square stops. I don't know why we didn't do square stops first. Let's do that. This is important. Now rule number 7, square stops. Let's fill these in if we can. The labials are what your lips, or you use your lips to make the labials, the sounds. Voiceless, if I remember right, means it's referring to well, voiced is where your sort of your vocal cords are vibrating. Voiceless is where they're not vibrating. Aspirate is where it is the air is being impeded as it goes out. So a voiceless is there's no vibration from your vocal cords. Voiced is there is a vibration. And aspirate is where the air is impeded as it passes through. In this case, labials through your lips. And so there are 3 letters that when it comes against a sigma, it changes. So when they come up against, so you remember what they are, the labials?
Phi, beta.
And?
Theta.
Right, okay. And so when a sigma comes against any one of those, what does it change to?
Change to a psi.
Right.
Psi.
Okay. Psi, right. Okay, and then there's the velars. The velars is called that because your tongue comes up, the center of your tongue comes to the roof of your mouth when you make these sounds. So whether you're talking about a sound where there's no vibration in your vocal cord, or there's vibration from your vocal cord, or the air is somehow impeded, velars are made with the tongue coming to the roof of the mouth. And so the letters are the kappa, the gamma, and the xi. And when it comes up against sigma, what does it change to? Kappa, gamma, or xi would change to what?
Psi.
Right, xi. Yep. When it comes up against a kappa, gamma, or key, it changes to an xi. Right. And then the dentals, it's called dentals because when I go to the dentist, I'm thinking about teeth. So the sound is made by using your teeth. Typically, the tongue is up against the tooth, front tooth, and aspirate means there's the air is impeded slightly before it passes through the teeth, but your teeth are being used. And so you have the tau, the delta, and the theta. And when it comes up against a sigma, what does it change to?
Sigma.
Yeah, so they all change to a sigma. And so we have that here for you. So the pi or beta, theta changes to the psi and c. And the kappa, gamma, chi changes to xc. This is psi, xc. And tau, delta, and theta changes to the sigma. So that's what they're really asking, is that when this changes here, if you go back to, let me find that chart here. Let me go back up here. I'm going to use this as, let's see which one I think. Okay, this is relative pronouns, but it's very similar to the case endings. But if you go back to, hold on a minute, I'm being distracted, and I'm now can't think of what I was doing. What were we doing? Okay, yeah, I know what I want to do now. So actually, I want the case endings. I want the third declension. I don't think I have it here. Yeah, I don't have third declension in here. Okay, so that's a third declension word. So that's where let me pull up another chart real quick because I want to just show you this. Hold on, just give me a minute. All right, let me share a different chart. Share a different chart real quick. Okay, third declension is when the stem ends in a consonant, like a kappa, a delta. So any one of our labials or velars or dentals, when it ends in a consonant, such as those, and then a sigma is added to it, like here, third declension, masculine, feminine, nominative, a sigma gets added to that. Well, when you add that sigma, those stops, those dentals, those velars, those labials will change. And so that's what's occurring. And so that's what I wanted to bring out, is this is our case endings with our noun case with stem endings. We use this one up here. So when this sigma is added to that, also when this sigma is added to that in the dative plural down here, then those will change the other way. And so that's what it's asking. So let me go back to that. Go back to okay, so get back to where we were. Up here. Okay, so when the sigma, say from a nominative singular or a dative plural, is added to this kappa, then it's going to change, like the square stops, to the xi. And so that's what it's asking. So I want you to recognize that. Okay, in this case. Does that make sense, George? You okay?
Right.
All right, good. All right, now under anima, if we look at its, if we know its root, it's, I got to do it in something you can see. That's its root, animat, with the tau. Okay, now, in the nominative case, here we have the nominative right here. This is the nominative, sarx. Anima is the nominative singular as well. What happened to that tau?
Tau's going to fall off. It can't stand alone.
You got it. Okay, that's simple. We don't need to go any further, right? Because in the genitive, it's animatos. But in the nominative, it's anima. Because as you mentioned, noun rule number 8, the tau does not stand at the end of a word. It will fall off. Okay, and I don't know if we want to go through all these. I'll leave the rest for you to walk through, but that's the general idea. They want you to be able to walk through and explain these endings and why they're in this form. Okay, so we did the square stops, noun rule 7. And basically, they're asking you also under, I think it's
Right.
3, what happens to the tau when it comes up against a sigma? So what happens when tau comes up against a sigma?
When tau comes up against sigma, it becomes a sigma.
Very good. What about a beta when it comes up against a sigma?
Beta, it becomes a psi.
Right. And a delta?
It would let's see, it's going to be the psi.
It's one of the dentals, delta, tau, and theta, or theta. When one of the dentals come up against a sigma, delta, a tau, delta, and theta, what happens to the tau, delta, or theta?
It'd still be a sigma.
Yes, sir. Well, not still, it changes to a sigma.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, and what about the pi when it comes up against a sigma?
Pi's.
It's a labial. We say it with our lips, pi.
Yeah, that's psi.
Right. And the gamma?
It's that funny one.
Exceed,
yeah.
Exceed. And the kappa?
Would be an XC.
Correct. Right. Okay. And then one of the things they ask is to remember the noun case endings. We won't do that tonight. I'll leave that for you because I'm going to spend a little time working on translation, 1 John 1:5 through 2:5. Don't know that we'll do all of that, but we'll do a few of the verses. And I want to show you something a little different. I'm going to share something different. Let me get to my share screen. And pull up a different screen to share.
Oh, you want me to translate this whole thing?
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, that's what we're here for, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Well, we're not going to do it tonight. Okay. We're going to do a couple verses and walk through. And I'm going to show you a little bit differently. Okay. Normally, when you see it, okay, you should be seeing my screen now.
Yeah.
It's written like this. Kai, Estin, Altehe, Angelia, Hain, Akekaamin, Altu, Kai, Anangelaamin, Humin, Hati Hate As Fos, Estin Kai, Scotia, and Alto Uk Estin Udemia. So you normally see it written like this. What we're doing here is we're basically going to break it into some parts for translation rather than trying to look at this whole thing. And what I've always said is go find like the clauses or the prepositional phrases and mark those off. For example, here's hati, hate, as, fos, estin, kai. So this functions really as a part of a clause right here, especially to here, maybe further, right here. Here's a prepositional phrase. And so to mark those off so you're to break it into smaller pieces. Well, that's kind of what this form is doing. This is just a way to break it into pieces. So we start with something simple, kai. Let's translate it and or also. And then we'll just start with Estin, haute, he, angalea. This is our main subject and verb right here. So here's our main verb, Estin, haute, he, angalea. You want to walk through that translation? Have you done it already, or you haven't done it yet?
No, I haven't done that.
All right, so we'll do it cold then. We'll walk through it together. All right, so you know Estin, right?
Yeah.
Is,
yeah.
okay. Let's hold off Alte for a moment. Hey, Angalea.
Angel.
Well,
Angel or messenger.
okay, angel or messenger. Very good, you got that. Now, this is a nominative case, feminine. Then we have haute. Now, that's the rough breathing. So that's not a third person personal pronoun. It's instead a demonstrative pronoun because it has the rough breathing. And so haute would be this or that or those or these. And it's up to you to tell me which one.
Those angels.
Well, is this singular or plural? Haute. Well, let's back up to angels or messengers. Hey, angalea, is that singular or plural?
That's singular.
It is singular. Okay, what about haute?
So that's going to be and that angel.
Well, okay, not that, because we're dealing with the near. So haute would be the near one, so it's this. That would be a kenos or kene. So this is the near one. So this,
that's the angel.
The angel is. So and is this angel or the angel. So now let's make sense of it. And this is the angel, right? Or the message, probably. This is the message. That makes sense? So we have, and this is the message. Now, there's reasons we make the translation that way. Both of these are in the nominative. That's nominative. All of this is the nominative. They're all singular. All this is singular. All of it's feminine. So basically, this is functioning as a predicate nominative. This is functioning, well, this is one of them's a subject and one's a predicate nominative. Well, there's rules behind that, and I forget where in our book that has that. And the answer is when the pronoun, it's going to take precedence over the noun. And then, so the pronoun is going to function as a subject. That's why it's this is. This is. That's why, because there's a rule that says the pronoun would, this is functioning as a predicate. This is functioning as a predicate nominative. They're both nominatives. They're dealing with a predicate is. So this is the message. And I know it's not the message is this, simply because there's a rule that says there's a word order that goes, and when the pronoun, a pronoun is used, it will take priority over the other noun. So this is the message. Help a little bit? I wish I could remember what chapter it was in our book that had that. I need to find that. I meant to look for that earlier and I just forgot and didn't do it. Let me see if I can find it. If I can find a predicate nominative. Let me see if I can find a predicate nominative in the back of the book. Because that is important. If not, I'll find it for next week and we'll put it in the, I don't want to spend too much time with it. Predicate, predicate nominative, page 21, 56, and 60. Let me start with page 60 and see if it's got it. So it talks about the predicate nominative on number 815, 8.15. One of the functions of the nominative case that we did. A noun that follows a me, which this is. Esten is one of the a me verbs. A noun that follows a me is not receiving the action from the verb, but rather is telling you something about the subject. Therefore, the word is in the nominative case.
And that's what?
Huh?
That's what, 8:15?
8.15, yes, sir.
Okay, and now it follows. Okay, got it.
Okay.
Not receiving any action from the verb, but rather
It's somewhere, though, there's a word order. It gives you precedence of word order, and I can't remember where that is. I was trying to find that. Because to know which one's first, normally, the word with the article would be first. Okay? It would be the subject, and the predicate would be the other word. You have to figure out which one's going to be the subject and which one's going to be the predicate nominative. One of them is a subject, and one of them is describing something about the subject. Well, normally the one with the article is the subject. However, in this case, a pronoun takes priority over that, and so this becomes the subject, and the he angelea becomes the predicate nominative. So it's this is the message instead of the message is this.
Well, is it grammatically that the predicate is the verb and everything that follows it? Is that what you're talking about?
That's normal. Yes, the predicate is the verb and everything that follows it. That's called the predicate. But when you have the verb and there's another nominative, he angelea, I got two nominatives. I got haute and he angelea. Okay, one of them is coming before the verb esten, and one of them's coming after the verb. Well, to know which one, there's a rule that says normally the article, one with the article, will come before. It's the subject. But there's also part of that rule says unless there's a pronoun, the pronoun becomes the subject, and the other noun with the article becomes the predicate nominative. It's called predicate nominative. Let me write it out here. So write it in English order, okay, so we can see it. Let me see if I'm in Greek. Yeah. So if I were to rewrite this, I'm just going to cut and paste here. If I were to rewrite this in English order, it'd be this.
This is the message.
Right. And so it would be this is the message. Okay. And so this is the nominative. The message is nominative, but this is called a predicate nominative because it comes after the predicate is. That's why it's a predicate nominative. And the only reason this is a subject and not the message is because the subject, aute, is a pronoun, and it takes priority. There has to be a way to know which one goes first, and that's the order. And that's somewhere in our book. I know I've gone over it before, but I can't find it, and that's what I was looking at. So you can have to look at predicate nominative page 60, 56, or 21. Let's see what's on page 56. 56, does it have anything that's useful? No, it's not. It's certainly not going to be page 21. That's way too early. So I don't know where that is. Maybe I'm dreaming it. I'll have to find it, and I want to point that out to you next time. Yeah, it's not here. So I don't know. We'll figure it out. Anyways, that make a little sense?
Yeah, everything after that is.
Yeah, everything after the verb, a predicate verb. Predicate is like is, was, be, became. Everything after that is called the predicate. Is called the predicate. But because this is in a nominative case, it's called a predicate nominative. And it's only called that because it's in the nominative case and it comes after the predicate. It's translated. So that's the predicate nominative, and that's the subject. It's also in the nominative. Very confusing, but I do my best with it. So Okay, so typically, you know, we're not going to get this English, nice little smooth English word order. This is the order we're going to get it. And we have to figure out which one is the subject and which one is the predicate nominative. And the answer is, that's my subject, and that's the predicate nominative. So we translate it as, this is the message. Long way to go to just do those 4 words. So anyway, let's try the next sentence or next phrase.
But why drop off the and? And it could be, and this is the message.
Well, we didn't drop it off. I was just doing this one phrase right here. I didn't. I've got this broken into pieces is all. It's one sentence. So our final translation, I would have, and this is the message. And then we'll do this one here and then this one here. So if we were to write it all down here at the bottom, that's what we got so far. Okay, so what about hein akekaamin apa'autu kai angelaamin humin? Break it into pieces. I have a prepositional phrase right here. Hop out to, we'll just do that piece, and then and angelaamin and humin. So let's just do this piece. Hein akekaamin. Akekaamin, we've already given that. We have heard. What's hein? What would be hein?
Oh.
It's one of our relative pronouns we just did.
Yeah.
So you only get really 3 main choices.
We.
Who, that.
No.
Who, that, or which.
That we have heard.
Okay.
Which we have,
this is the message that
we have heard. Or
we have heard. We got, spell it right. We have heard. And then we got apo autu. What would that be? Remember apo? Now this is an elision where the Omicron from apo is dropped off, and autu is in the genitive form. So apo is governed in the genitive. And you already said it earlier, away from, which we have heard from who? What's autu?
From him?
Yes, sir. I'll make it capital, M. And, okay, the next word we're given, we proclaim. Okay, and we proclaim what? Or we claim, what's who mean?
Men.
Who mean? It's in the dative, and it's a, looks like a second person, dative, singular.
You.
Pronoun.
You.
Okay, you is correct, but help me out now because it's in the dative. What helping word would I use?
To you.
Yes, sir, to you. So far we've gotten all through here. I'll just get that out of our way. And now we're focusing on hati. This is a purpose clause. Well, not necessarily purpose, but hati. You remember what hati means?
In him. In.
No, hati would normally is that, since, or because. Remember that?
That God, which God?
Okay,
that God. That God.
All right, so it would be that, since, or because. That probably works. And I'll tell you a trick and a secret, okay? Oftentimes in English, we won't even translate hati here. And the reason is it's almost like it's a quote. And hati is just a signal. But we'll leave it here for now. And then we'll play with it later. So, and this is the message that we heard from him, and we proclaim to you that, what are we proclaiming? Hatheos phos estin. What is hatheos estin?
That God is light.
Yes, sir. That God is light. And then we got stoicheia, scotia, excuse me, I got my consonants backwards. Scotia in auto uk estin udemia. Let's just do scotia first. Do you remember that word?
No, I don't remember that word.
Okay, that's darkness. Darkness.
Yeah, I don't think we've had that. I don't remember my flashcards.
Okay, I don't know for sure. But now you got this prepositional phrase here, in auto. And what would in auto mean?
In.
Right, in is in. That's always nice. In is in. Auto.
In him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we have, remember ook? I'm going to write it as it is and we'll change it around. Ook.
Not.
Not. And what is estin again?
Is.
Right. And udemia. I don't know if we've had that or not.
I don't familiar either.
Well, udemia really is in no way, or what word do they use? I can't remember now. Typically it means in no way, or not at all, or it's sort of an emphasis because it's multiple. Udemia is in no way, I think is what it means.
I don't think he's. No way didn't sound like a typical Koine Greek.
Yeah, well, we're going to write it sort of a rough way, and then we're going to go back and change it, okay? So we're probably pretty comfortable with this first part right up to here, and this is the message that we have heard from him, and we proclaim to you that God is light, and darkness in him not is no way. Well, what it's saying is that, and the sense of it is that what? There's absolutely, positively no darkness in him.
It'd be in him.
Right.
There is no darkness.
There you go.
But no way is wrong.
Well, okay, so we'll change that. In him,
there is no darkness.
Well, it's a little more emphasis than that. There's no darkness at all. I mean, it's really, that's what the endomia is doing. There's no way, there's no possible, there's no darkness in him whatsoever. That's what udemia is trying to get across.
Yeah, and you had said at all before.
Right. Oh, I left that out, didn't I?
Well, you went no way.
Okay, yeah. All right. Well, so in him, I forgot what I was doing that. In him,
there is no darkness at all.
Yeah, we'd have to add the there in is no darkness at all, and then we'd have our translation almost completed. I got one thing that's not completed. You got to don't forget the punctuation mark. Okay, so that would be our translation for 1 John 1:5. Let's do one more, and then we'll leave the rest to you, and we'll try to answer questions next time. Okay. That'd be all right?
Okay.
All right. So 1 John 1, verse 6. Do you want to read the first phrase or line here?
Okay. Our pictures are over some of this, so I won't be able to read it all.
Oh, what's in the way?
After the ex omen.
Let me do something here. Hold on a minute. Let me do something, see if that will change. Hold on a minute. How's that?
There you go. Yeah.
Okay.
See our
I don't see the exact same thing you're saying. Mine's a little bit off, a little bit different. So, all right, you want to read that first phrase? Phrase or front line.
Ain.
On.
Oh. On.
On. On right there is on. On.
On.
A.
Why would it be A? Isn't it a diphthong?
Yeah, it'd be a diphthong, like in freight.
But the I is
No,
the iota. The iota.
Yeah, the epsilon iota would be a diphthong and be like in freight, F-R-E-I-G-H-T. So it'd be like an A sound, yes. Yep.
Apomen.
Apomen, yep.
Hoity.
Hoti or hoti, okay.
Gain.
Co-neon.
Exomen. Yeah.
Echomen.
Exomen. Met.
Yep.
Atom.
Autu, not the
Autu.
and Kai. All right, so let's just translate that. On would be if. I don't know if you remember that or not, but that would be if. And we already know we say. Okay, and then we got this clause. It's a hoti clause. It's a purpose clause. If we say that, since, or because, either one of those, probably that would work best. If we say that, so if we say that, and then we got this koinonion echamen, and what would be koinonion mean? Do you know? We often on every Sunday when we observe the Lord's Supper, we are having a fellowship, a koinonios.
So it'd be fellowship.
Okay, if we say that we have, all right, and this is, we're going to put the verb in now. We have fellowship. Okay, what about meta autu?
With him.
Yes, sir. Him. And then we get to this next phrase. Entos kotia peripatomen. We're already told peripatomen is a verb. We are walking. Let's do entos kotia. And
in the dark.
Okay. Oh, so let's do the verb. And we are walking in the dark. Very good.
Or darkness.
Or in darkness.
Yeah,
but let's say in the dark. Or in darkness.
Darkness would sound better.
Okay. I'll go with that. So, all right. So we got all the way through here. Right through here. So pseudometha, meaning we lie. So we'll write that. We lie. And so our last line is u poiumen tain aletheon. And so what's this? Where we told poiumen we do.
We do.
What
not.
We do not. Okay.
We do not.
And we do not what? What is it we do not? Aletheia is the word, and this is tain aletheon. So it's in the accusative feminine, tain aletheon, but the word is from aletheia. Remember aletheia?
That doesn't look familiar. The truth.
Right.
And we do not.
Okay.
If we say we have fellowship with him and we are walking in the darkness, we lie and we do not tell.
No, we do not. We do not. We do not truth. We don't do. We do not do the truth is what it's saying. We do not. We not do. We not do truth. Maybe might be better. Let's try it that way. Well, you know. This is a very little reading. This is why English becomes an art, because now you start smoothing it over. If we say that we have fellowship with him and we are walking in darkness, we lie and do not, and then we might smooth it over, and right, so, and we not do truth, we might say, and we could add, we do not do truth, something of that nature. But the point is that, you know, we're not, see, the key is that we're walking, okay? And so there's a doing. Walking is a way of life. And if it's a way of life, and we're walking in, we say we have fellowship with him, but we're walking in darkness, then we are lying and we are not doing the truth. The doing part is associated with this walking. It is a way of life, of living, not just sitting in the bench, but doing. And so that's what it's talking to. That help?
Well, it helps, but it doesn't sound
Right.
that last part.
Over anyway. If we say that we have fellowship with him and we are walking in darkness, we lie. And we probably, you know, it's literally poiumen as we do, and we could say and we lie and do not. How about I spell it? Do not do
Truth. That sounds a little better.
Yeah, it's something of that nature, and I think I'd have to look at other English Bibles, see how they translate it, but that's the intent. The intent is to say that we're not doing, that is the walking in the light, because we're lying. Instead, we're walking and doing not what's in the light. We're not doing the truth. So it's not just about lying, it's about doing, and doing it, you know, I don't know. I don't want to go too far. Anyway, that's the fun of translation. It's not just getting the words, the correct the translation of the words, and the forms and plural, singular, and all that kind of stuff. It's also understanding the sense of what it's saying and taking it to the English speaker so that they can understand it. The Greek speaker would understand it without anything. Poiumen tein aletheon. They would understand that without any problems. But because we got to put it in English, our English speakers need a better way to understand that.
This is 1 John 1, what, 6?
1 John 6, yeah. What does it got in? What translation do you have?
This is the New American.
Okay, New American's a good translation. They come very close to the Greek. So what do they got?
This is 1:6. This doesn't come anywhere close.
1 John 1:6.
1 John, yeah.
Oh,
wait a minute. John.
Yeah, if we say that we have fellowship with him and yet we walk in the darkness, and they got yet in italics, meaning it's not part of the translation.
Yeah, I was in the wrong book.
And yet walk in darkness, we lie and we do not practice the truth. Again, the emphasis on practicing is associated with this peripatomen, walking, living, doing. We do not do the truth, which is this poiumen. They translated poiumen as practicing, not just doing, but, which is, you know, good trend. It helps English speakers to understand it.
Hold on a minute. I got an NIV one here.
Okay.
Let's see what NIV says. 1 John 6. Okay. Okay. This one says, if we claim to have fellowship with him,
Yep.
and yet walk in darkness, we lie,
yep,
and do not live out the truth.
Okay, do not live out the truth. So the emphasis is on, you know, poiumen, what we do or do not do, and they tie it. What they're doing is they're tying it back to we do not do. They're tying that back to walking, and so we do not live out. We do not practice the truth. And aletheon, aletheos, is truth. Very good. I think it's fun. It's cool to me. I enjoy it. It's a little bit cumbersome. Takes a little time, but the more you do it, the more you start saying, okay, now I get it. And, it just takes some effort and time. You actually start to have fun with it. When it becomes...
Yeah, this is fun.
Yeah.
Especially... Okay. Paul, 2 Peter, 1 John. Okay, 1 John, verse 6. This is King James Version.
Oh, yeah.
If we say that we have fellowship with him and walk in darkness, we lie and do not the truth.
So that's more literal, isn't it?
And that's more literal, and it follows closely the NIV.
Yeah, but like you say, it's not as smooth to the English reader and do not do the truth, but it is more literal and closer to it. The difficult part on any translation is not just getting as close as you can to the original, what the author intended to say, what he's trying to say, but also get it to where the audience today can understand it. That's the hard part. You have to balance and get both. And depends on who your audience is. If you got those who are well-read versus those who are not, and these kind of things. So there's lots of different variables to make that. That's why we have so many translations. Go ahead.
I'm beginning to see now what this other course I'm taking, and he says when you're reading a passage, he spreads out the different Bibles, the different translations, and he looks at each one of them. I'm seeing now what he's saying with this passage, because each of them is a little bit different, though the King James and the NIV are closer to what we're translating here than the New American Standard.
Well, the amazing thing is that, and I've looked at these translations a lot in terms of how close they are to the original. They vary. There's no such thing as a perfect translation, and it's not feasible. You cannot go in one language to another and get a word for word. That's not a possibility. It doesn't exist. It's a dream. As you could see, words in Greek can mean many things in English. So it depends upon context, and then depends upon the audience and how you want it to, what level of understanding you want to give. So there's lots of reasons that we have different translations, and most of them are good. There's some that are not. But most of them are fine. It's just that depends on who the audience is and how close to the original they really want to be. But if you get exact to the original, it's almost not understandable because it's not readable. And even that, you're really not exact to the original because it's just not a possibility.
Oh, and if you look at I was just looking at the footnotes here. If you look down at the first footnote, he does define Anglia as the message.
Does he? Okay.
Yeah,
Good. Good.
There's a hyperscript 1, right after Anglia in the.
Oh yeah, he does. You're right. I see it now. Okay. Well, good. Makes life easy for me.
Yeah.
So that's it for tonight. I think for next week, we only have 2 more weeks now. For next week, what we're going to do is we're going to move away from nouns, adjectives, prepositions. Not that we won't forget them. We'll still be using them, and pronouns. Instead, we're going to move to verbs. And a verb is a totally different animal. What we're going to do is really do the very first part of verbs, more of an introduction, because truthfully, you got to get stronger in your nouns, in adjectives and pronouns and such, and prepositions before you can really tackle verbs, because you'll be constantly confused if you don't feel pretty foundationally strong in the nouns, and so you can sort of push them aside. And when we go to verbs, it's like a completely different animal, and the mind has a difficulty going from nouns to verbs unless you're already comfortable with nouns. So we got 2 more weeks, and what I want to do is next week is let's go over chapter 15 and 16. 15 is very simple. It's just English verbs, just to remind you about English verbs. 16 will start us in the Greek verbs for what's called the present tense, in the indicative mood, and so we'll do first person present active voice, and so we'll do chapter 16, and that'll be our first introduction. I will send to you next week all my verb charts, all of them, even though we're only going to use 2 of them for the next 2 weeks. But I'll give you them all, and that way you don't have to just keep sending them. Don't worry about all the stuff that's past the present active indicative, the very first few charts, and we'll go over those next week as an introduction. Last week will be, I think the next chapter after that should be the present passive indicative, because you have an active voice and a passive voice. And I believe chapter 17 is going to be 17 is contract verbs. Oh, okay. I don't want to do that. We're going to spend the next 2 weeks on present active indicative. I might do contract verbs. I'll see. Yeah, I guess we'll do contract verbs. They're a little, I really hate to end up with that. They're a little cumbersome is all. Lots of rules and you got basically vowels are contracting and changing and stuff like this, and you're trying to understand why. It's very useful. You need to know it, but I just hate to end it with that. I think what I want to do is, well, we'll see. Right now, I'm going to plan to get through 15 and 16, and we just may spend the last week a little bit of review. Actually, I'm out of town that last week anyway, so I was going to do it while I'm on the road. So we'll see what we'll do then. So anyway, 15 and 16 for next week. My question to you, George, is that, and there's one other person still online, they're just not taking it live, is this is the end of Greek 1. Greek 2 just continues on in this book and goes through verbs. And the rest of the time is on verbs. And you'll see when I send the charts, there's a pattern, and we just keep modifying and following that pattern through all the verbs. And I'll send that to you next week. And the question is do you want time in between before we start Greek 2? Are you thinking about taking Greek 2, or it's just like, hey, this is enough. I'm done for a while. I'll get back to you later.
Hey, I'm thinking about going on, taking some other courses. I do want to come back to Greek 2.
Okay.
When you put it up on the courses to be taught.
Okay. What we'll probably do is take a break. I may go ahead and do record the classes and schedule them for a later time. And I may work that out. I have to think about it. But so let's finish Greek 1, and then we'll probably take a break from that and then schedule Greek 2 another time if you're able and desiring. So.
Yeah, I do want to continue with the Greek, but I need to take this survey of Old Testament next.
Surveys of Old Testaments that stuff's hard. It's a lot of stuff, I've had that stuff before. It's like throwing a lot of different stuff at you. So doing that and language at the same time can be a pain. What school are you going in?
Well, your school.
Okay. Where are you taking survey of Old Testament? Who with? Where at?
I think it's out of Marietta.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, good.
Marietta. I already signed up for it.
Well, that's fine. We'll get this scheduled later time, and we'll go from there. But let's focus on chapter 15 and 16 for next week.
Did you get my packet?
I haven't received anything from you, no.
I sent a packet of the homework to you.
Did you really?
I think I sent it to the church. I sent it to Watson.
Did you mail it?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, I have not received that yet. Do you know when you mailed it?
Last week sometime. Or...
All right. I'll check with them tomorrow and find out. If you sent it last week, it should be here. So I'll check with them. Sometimes they just put it up in the elder's office where I go get it stuff, and I don't get there till later. So I'll follow up and look for that. And then what we may do then is I'll talk to you about taking a final test, probably a translation. And
I get to take my book.
I'm a firm believer. I don't have a problem with open book tests. What I don't want to do is use the English Bible. But using the BBG book or any of the notes that we've given you, I have zero problem with that because I don't expect anyone to be an expert. I still have to look things up. Some things I'm comfortable with and some I'm not. So I don't have a problem with using the material that we had in class. I just don't want someone using an English translation.
I use my lexicon.
You can use the lexicon, yes. Absolutely. Yeah, I've got that lexicon. That's Mouse's lexicon. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's not a problem. You can use that. I don't have any problem with that at all. So we'll have a translation, and what I'll do is next week we'll just do an introduction to verbs, and we'll use that following week just for the test. That'll work. Okay.
Okay.
And we'll just go from there. Appreciate you, friend, and I'll look for that homework, and we'll go from there. Okay.
Yeah, there should be a packet, and then there'll be a letter, and then I'll get this one off to you. This homework that we went over tonight, and okay. I guess I better also get the review.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you may not get the.
That's fine. That's fine. Listen,
you may not get the translation, but I would like to fool around some more with this translation with you.
Okay. What we'll do, I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's make the translation of 1 John 1:5 through 2. What is it? 2:5?
2:5.
Make that the test. The only thing I ask you to do is do not use an English Bible.
I won't.
Okay.
I won't.
Well, normally I can normally tell when people are using them. Okay, because they smooth them out pretty well, thinking, okay, yeah, that's like from this version. But that's fine. I'm not. The goal here is just to for you to feel comfortable and to learn. So using the English Bible doesn't help your goal at all. So we'll make it work.
No, you gotta.
Yeah.
And it doesn't help you to learn the lexicon, how to use the lexicon.
That's right. It sure doesn't. So. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you, George. Appreciate you, and we'll see you next week. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.